As it's been the past few weeks, we continue to wait to see what the U.S. Supreme Court's going to do about a case challenging Illinois and Cook County's gun and magazine ban. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop as we track what happens with the challenges against Illinois' gun laws, and in particular, the gun ban that went into effect January of 2023. Can you believe it? It's been almost 3 years since that was signed into law. Actually, I think it was January 11th of 2023 when it was signed into law. Lawsuits followed thereafter, and you had other lawsuits challenging local bans that then wrapped in the state ban into those challenges. And one of those cases, the case out of Cook County challenging the Cook County and statewide ban, has made it all the way through the judiciary. And now it's in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, and whether or not they're going to take it, we could find out next week. Again, welcome back. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. You can get the headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning by going to thecentersquare.com and signing up for that newsletter. For those watching live, you've got people checking back in about the lip sync issues, and we'll see if the reset did anything before we have to do some more technical stuff. But regardless, if you can hear us, it's good. You can listen to the podcast really anywhere you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. But we'll also have segments of the show, corrected audio sync, for you to catch up on later. So let's get to this. Veramontes, the case out of Cook County. This is probably the third or fourth time it's been relisted going into conference to the U.S. Supreme Court. So when a case makes it all the way from the district courts through the appeals court and onto the U.S. Supreme Court on the merits, people ask the Supreme Court, can you take this case? The Supreme Court then goes into what they call a conference, and it's behind closed doors, and the justices discuss all of the different cases that they've been requested to take, and then they have an orders list that follows typically the Monday after, and that spells out which cases they are taking and which cases they are denying. And when there's no case on that list, like Veramontes, when we've checked the orders list, it's not on the orders list. That just means it's being relisted to go back to conference. And earlier this week, it was listed to go back to conference today. So the U.S. Supreme Court conferencing on Veramontes again today. Could we find out what happens? We'll be watching next week. But you still got the other case, the Barnett case challenging Illinois' gun ban that a district judge has found unconstitutional. The appeals court is still dealing with that particular challenge, and we have yet to get any kind of certainty on that. But it's been pretty busy as well at the Supreme Court. They did decline to take up a felony firearms case. This coming from Andrew Rice, the Center Square's reporter out of Washington, D.C. U.S. Supreme Court Tuesday declining to hear two cases over whether individuals with felony records can be permanently disarmed under the Second Amendment. The court declined to hear one case and another challenging target laws that ban individuals with felonies from possessing firearms. And so that case, obviously something that is being dealt with locally, and the Supreme Court's not taking them. But you also have the Hawaii case that the U.S. Supreme Court had, and you had advocates outside the U.S. Supreme Court looking for more clarity as they were hearing that case. Now, the Hawaii case, Wolford v. Lopez, challenges a Hawaii law that prevents concealed carry permit holders from going to gas stations, bars, restaurants, and serve alcohol, beaches, and public parks without written or verbal consent from the property owner. So during the arguments Tuesday, gun rights advocates came out to the steps of the Supreme Court to express support for the Second Amendment. An argument analysts were particularly watching was drawing distinctions between free speech rights and gun rights on private property and open to the public. So this is going to be interesting what the U.S. Supreme Court does with this case, especially after hearing it. Here is what some advocates on the U.S. Supreme Court steps had to say about the issue.
So the default rule, basically the state says firearms are prohibited at private property otherwise open to the public. So grocery stores, that sort of thing. And we think that's overreach for the government to say that. Private property owners certainly have the right to prohibit firearms on their own property, but it's gross overreach for the government to decide that for them.
So clearly, a lot of questions going to be answered by the U.S. Supreme Court whenever they do put out their ruling on the Hawaii case. And while all of that's going on in the courts, and again, I know it's been frustrating for a lot of the readers out there and the listeners, is how long it's taking for the case to get through the judiciary all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the indecision by the appeals court in the Barnett case, and week after week after week after week of indecision from the U.S. Supreme Court. Clearly, there are going to be ongoing concerns about all of this. So where do you go from here? Well, you got to keep an eye out for other legislation that could be coming down the pike. At thecentersquare.com, you can see the story. Illinois Rifle Act sparks fierce debates as lawmakers return. This coming from our contributor, Katrina Barker, about House Bill 3320. Now, this is the Responsibility in Firearm Legislation Act. And whether or not this advances, not sure. It's still stuck in committee. So it would require firearm manufacturers operating in Illinois to obtain a new state permit and pay fees tied to the estimated cost of gun violence. This measure, again, if you click through the actual bill, you'll be able to see and exactly where this is at. Yeah, I'll accept the Illinois legislature's cookies. You've got a lot of people signing up for it, right, and sponsoring it, but it's still stuck in committee. You can see here the last action. It's stuck in committee, and that's despite having all of these co-sponsors added. So this is something to watch, and after it possibly moves out of the Rules Committee, where could it go from here? Big questions, and that's why you got to stay tuned here with The Center Square and Illinois in Focus Daily. All right.